Community Leadership Institute of Cape Cod has a brand new executive director. We are going to meet him today. This is Cape Media News Conversations. I'm Sarah Colvin. Joining me in studio, the first executive director for the Community Leadership Institute, Bob Cody. Bob, welcome and thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Sarah. It's a pleasure to be here.
So, Bob, tell me, before we get into talking about CLI and that organization, give us a brief history of where you've come from and what brought you to Cape Cod.
I actually came out to Cape Cod my first time when I was 12. My mom brought my brother and I out for a vacation. We fell in love with the place and had been coming on vacation for 20 years with my own daughter. And I really thought that along the way I found this was a place I wanted to live. And so eventually, along my career path, this was always an end point for me. But I've been to a lot of different places. I've had a chance to work for some great people, some great organizations. I've spent 20 plus years in the chemical industry, managing global research, development, and engineering programs. I've worked at the college here, the Four Cs, for a number of years, which was a great opportunity. Been in nonprofits, a small business owner, and spent a lot of time as a member of a board and community organizations, doing a lot of volunteer work. So it kind of all culminated here on the beaches in East Hyannis. So it's a great place to be.
Great, wonderful place to live on Cape Cod.
Absolutely a wonderful place to live.
Love it. So community involvement, community leadership is something that has been a part of your professional life for a long time. Can we talk a little bit about why it's important for you to be so involved in the community?
This is, it's really simple. This is where I live. And this is an investment in the future of where I live. And it's an investment for me and for the people who come behind me. And I really do believe, and I was brought up this way, and I have a strong feeling that it's our responsibility to make sure that when we leave this world, that we leave it a better place for those who come behind us. So when it comes down to being part of a community organization, to volunteering, it's just something that I think we all have to do. So for me, it's a passion I have. And I've been very fortunate. Since I've been out here, I've been part of the Cape Cod Tech Council. I've been part of the Open Cape. I've been part of CLI, was with the 2012 class. I'm on the Greater Hyannis Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors. And now I get to be the first executive director of CLI. So for me, this is absolutely great. I really enjoy being to college. We did some really good things. But for me, this is a chance to have let's say, a larger impact on the Cape as a whole, where we can take a look at generating and building and developing the next generation of leaders here in the community.
So let's talk a little bit about CLI. I think that, I went through the class in 2015. Now I sit on the board of directors, in full disclosure for our viewers. And when I went through it, I had been a reporter on Cape Cod for 10 years. I grew up here. I thought I knew everything about Cape Cod. Completely opened my eyes to so many things going on the Cape, and looking at the alumni roster. It's just an amazing group of people, and just the impact that CLI has had on the Cape Cod community, on these people that have gone through it is just, it really is, it's amazing. But it's a well-kept secret, because I hadn't known about it, I think, until I met someone who had gone through it, and I said, what is the CLI thing that you're telling me about?
I agree. Let's say it's too much of a well-kept secret. But it's a great program. When I first went through it, I was amazed at how little I really knew about Cape Cod. I've been coming here for a number of years. I've been working here for a short period of time, but I found out things that I never knew. You find out what's really going on in Cape Cod, and find out who the organizations are and who the people are that are making a difference here. And the best part about it for me is the people you meet, not just your classmates, but the people who are presenting whatever that topic is. And the topics are wide-ranging. As you know, it's from business, environment, leadership, social programming, healthcare, a little bit of everything. But what we have is real conversations with people who really talk about challenges and issues, along with how they got where they are, which is a really great dynamic conversation. And for me, it's those relationships which have really made a big difference. I still keep in contact with people from my class. From those sessions, I made a lot of contacts which helped me build programming at the college, and that we'll call on those same people to help as we move CLI to the next level.
Absolutely. I made so many friends in my class, as well as people in my network, and I feel like it completely changed my professional life here on the Cape, having gone through the program. But I want to talk a little bit about leadership. I think it's so important. We can get into discussions about all of the issues here on Cape Cod, that we talk about all the different sectors, but really I think the overarching importance is leadership, and how the folks who are in these leadership positions apply that to their various fields. And there's so many different ways. But when we say leadership, Bob, what does that mean to you?
There's a lot of pieces to it. Leadership's not easy, and I think that's the thing that really comes out. But leadership really is about creating a vision, whether it's in a nonprofit volunteer organization or whether it's in a corporate organization or an academic environment. It's about creating a vision and creating it and communicating it in such a way that the people who work for you and with you can see it, can see their role in it, can see how they fit in it, and become motivated to actually follow where you're going. So for me, when you talk about leadership, it starts with communication. It starts with understanding who you are. It starts with making sure that you have the right skills, that you're proficient in the area that you are in, that you communicate well, that you really care about the people that you work with. Because when you start talking about being leader, in the end, what's important is the people that you work with and the people you're trying to serve. So it's making sure that they have the skill sets and they're committed as you are. It's about passion. It's not about just making sure that a task gets done. It's about helping people understand their role in getting to that end, but also in creating the path after that. It's about managing change. It's about understanding that the way we've always done it may not be the best path and that we have to look somewhere else.
And sometimes here on the Cape, that can be challenging.
That can be challenging.
There's many people, many people have been here for generations who say this is the way we like things done. And sometimes a little bit of a fresh voice, a little bit of a change in the way we do things can really make all the difference.
I absolutely agree with you. And it's about convincing people with the vision that you share that that's the right thing to do. It's also about decision making. And being a leader, the decisions you make are not always, they're not always perceived as being good. And they're not always welcomed. They're very hard. But the thing is, you make them. And if you find you're going the wrong direction, then you change your direction. But you do it with your organization, communicating all the time what's going on.
And then without being afraid of pleasing everyone,
No,
because I think when you're in that leadership position, you have to make, as you said, those decisions that not everyone might like right away.
No, and if you are a leader, you will not be liked by everyone. That's kind of how it works. And that's going to be okay. So. Part of our role, though, if we look at leadership in terms of CLI, is really what are we going to do here to take leadership on Cape Cod to a different level?
And let's talk a little bit about that, because as it stands right now, CLI is a course about 30 people take it. We're starting it this week, and we'll go through every other Thursday morning, a different location on Cape Cod until June, and then there's graduation. There are class projects, then everyone's kind of set off into the world,
right.
And that's the formula that CLI has been running for several years.
Right.
What are your visions right away? What are your hopes for kind of raising the profile and maybe doing things outside the box?
I think there are a couple things we need to do. One of the great things about the program is it gives you an overview of Cape Cod and talks about the organizations that are here, the issues that are here, the challenges, a lot of the people. But what we really don't get into is really real leadership training. So I think one of the things that we need to do is expand that we are talking about leadership training, whether that be senior leaders in the case of getting the CEOs for some of the larger organizations together on a regular basis to talk about what's going on, whether it's programs that are geared towards, let's call them middle managers in organizations to talk about next step in leadership, but really get into the heart of what really does make a good leader and start training people to be leaders. And not just those who are currently in roles, but those who will be in roles. I think we need to reach out to the organizations that work with high school students and college students and build a collaborative network with those organizations so that we can develop people and take them to the next level. One of the things I like to see happen with the current programming, where we have the project that's geared towards the community, is to find a way to make those programs sustainable. And maybe one thing we can do is expand our group to include service-focused high school and college students to help us take those programs that we deem really valuable in the community to keep those running. And I think we need to do that.
Absolutely.
The other piece that we have here, we have to recognize we have a very unique situation that we have a lot of retirees here who have a great deal of leadership experience in their careers. We also have a lot of nonprofits out here who have a lot of strong needs in terms of board of directors and volunteers. So one of the things I think would be great for us to do is to kind of match those people with those current organizations. So we could offer a program on to retirees and people who are on the tail end of their, not the tail end of their careers, but at the back end of their career, when they're thinking about retiring, about what they might like to do after. So talk about, train people in how to be a good board member, what it really, and what it really means to be a board member. And then after a few sessions where people are ready, then start matching them up with some of the nonprofits out here and see if we can get some people together and perhaps influence and increase the skill set that we have on a number of our boards.
And I think not just for the nonprofit sector, but for the town boards, committees, and commissions as well. I know that, you know, my work with CCYP, we are really working to encourage our membership to step up and join, but having a training program that would be available to folks who might be interested would I think make a huge difference here on the Cape.
I would completely agree with you. One of the things that people, and the other piece of that too is not just board members, but volunteers. One of the things I've been surprised at too as I go around the Cape and I go to a lot of different events is you see the same faces in many places.
You do.
So what we need to do is expand the scope and bring more people in. So part of that is letting everyone here know what's really going on here and what's available and who needs what and what skills are available. And part of that then is to offer training in those certain areas. You know, as an organization, we can do financial training. We can do public speaking training. We can do strategic planning training. There's lots of things that we can do which would enhance the quality of leadership and the quality of life here.
We certainly look forward to those things. What are you looking forward to the most for your first few months, first year as executive director of CLI?
First thing is meeting people and building the network and building the brand. There are a couple things I like to see happen. I like to see is we have about 700 alumni that have been through the program.
Wow.
I like to see if we can take that energy that we saw in those courses, bring it through that alumni group and have them more involved in programming out here in the Cape. And with that then bring a training program in leadership, true training program in leadership, and then talk about some of the other things we can do. Can we help, who can we help and how do we help you? One thing that I know is that we can't do this by ourselves. So it's really about sitting down with other organizations and other people and municipal leaders and regional leaders and business leaders to talk about what they need and then how we can leverage that and how we can help them, how we can collaborate with them to take everyone here to another level. So it's going to be about understanding what's really needed, then building those programs.
Do you think that anyone can be trained to be a leader?
I do. Now there's a couple different schools of thought. There are people who say that you can't train a leader. You know, if you look at people who are leaders, there are some people that you say are born leaders. The personality, the stature, the way they speak, they're a natural leader. There are some people who become a leader because they're thrust into something which becomes a crisis and they find a way to steer through and get an organization through it. But I think those are really good leaders. Both of those are examples of good leaders. But I think the really good leaders are those who have passion about a topic, passion about a program, an organization, and the desire to lead. And when you have that innate desire, we can provide the skills because we can teach communication, we can teach strategy, we can teach organizational development, we can talk about people skills, we can teach you how to do negotiation, we can teach all those things. If you don't have the passion and you're not willing to step out and be the leader, we can't make that happen. We can't get there. You know, so if you have the passion, I do think we can teach people how to be better than they are at leading.
Wonderful. Well, we look forward to your leadership of the Community Leadership Institute. I know, again, we're gearing up for the 2018 session, but if people are interested, I know CLICapeCod.org is the website. Bob, anything else about CLI, about your new position that you would like to let our viewers be aware of?
I'm really excited about this. I think it's a real chance for CLI and for the entire region to take a look at what we really need and then collectively and collaboratively take us to that next level. So for me, this is a great opportunity. I'm really looking forward to it.
Great. Well, Bob, thank you so much for coming in and joining me today.
Thank you, Sarah. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Bob Cody is the first Executive Director of the Community Leadership Institute of Cape Cod. You can learn more at CLICapeCod.org. For Cape Media News Conversations, I'm Sarah Colvin.